real hustle.
golden homie Tony Wells.
That is hustle, yeah.
My name is Tony Wells, your host of the Hope and Hustle Experience.
All right, I am here with Blake Baratz. He is the founder of IFA. That is the sports agency for individuals such as Adam Thielen. We've got Frankie Louvu, Jonathan Allen, and Blake Cashman, among many, many, many more. He's also the proud owner of Bricks and Mortar, which is a private social club / workspace here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you for having me on. My name is Tony Wells, and I'm your host of the Hope and Hustle Experience.
Thank yourself for having you on, or
I'm thanking you. I'm thanking you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That's right. Thank you for correcting me on that. No, but thank you for your time. I mean, you're a busy guy. You've accomplished a lot in your life, and that's really what I want to meet with you. Anybody who's ever been able to build a company to the size that you have is an inspiration to others, especially to those who have a dream of getting into your space, whether it's running an agency themselves or just being involved with sports athletes. So my question for you first is, where'd you come from? Are you like born and raised Minnesota boy?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me and saying that. Background, I'm originally from Minneapolis, grew up in Hopkins, about 15 minutes west of here. Went away to college, moved away for, I don't know how long, 7 years, 10 years, whatever it was. Got my feet wet in the space. And then when I was 28 years old, I decided to leave the firm I was with in Los Angeles, start IFA, decided to come back here and headquarter it here. I was starting a business with no money, and I was traveling across the country every week, and my wife and I kind of picked up, and I said, if we're going to start this, let's at least start it here. And if we move back to Minneapolis and we hate it, then we'll move back.
You can always go
and
back
then
to
we got
Southern
here, and things just got rolling. Yeah.
So you just said that you started with no money. So you didn't have millions of dollars in the bank when you started this thing.
No, we bootstrapped it.
Okay.
We bootstrapped it. I had experience in the business. I worked at a big firm in Los Angeles for 6 or 7 years, helped grow that business. I was confident I knew what I was doing in the business, but I never ran a business before. So I was either going to start my own shop. You know, I knew eventually I wanted to kind of do my own thing. I liked all the people I worked with prior, but these were all people that I inherited. They weren't necessarily people I put in place.
How many years ago did you start IFA?
I left after the 2009 draft. So it was really like spring, summer of 2009.
Okay.
2010 was my first draft class. I was 28, moved back here, brought some people in a room and that I had relationships with, whether it was financial advisor, retired player, guys that worked for teams, an ex-general manager. I said, listen, guys, I'm starting this business from scratch. We don't have much money to pay anyone, but the whole business is broken, and I want to do things a better way. I think there's a better way to represent a professional athlete. Okay. I just see the same scumbags doing it, same guys going broke, same guys getting in trouble. There's just a better way. There's a better way for guys to use their platform and really add value to their life. And every guy that was in that meeting here had different experiences in the space. We had the general manager who ran a team and talked to every agent and knew every player. We had retired players. We had some of my clients at the previous firm. We had a couple of young employees that I took with me from Los Angeles to start this. And everyone kind of said, listen, we see what you're seeing. We're all in agreement. We've seen it from different angles. And I think for everyone that was sitting at the table, it was like, we're doing this. Yes, we have to make money eventually, and it has to be a business. But we're also paving the way for the next generation, and we're helping guys change lives and change communities and be better fathers and better men and better husbands and better sons and better civic leaders. And there was a bigger purpose. Eventually, you have to make money. Otherwise, we're a nonprofit, and we're not a nonprofit. Yep. So, but the mission always aligned. And that stayed true up through today. Like, we're working with good dudes, like guys that want to be better on and off the field. It's more than, when I was young, I didn't know what an agent did. So I think a lot of people correlate an agent to like negotiating a contract. Well, I can do that stuff in my sleep. I'm very adept at the CBA and the salary cap structure. I have all the relationships. My staff does a great job. We're overly prepared. But just because you negotiate a contract for a player doesn't mean that they're in the right place to handle it properly and create generational wealth for their family and make sound decisions off the field. So it was all those other things that I equated to being a good agent, a good life mentor and advisor. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what everyone's definition of an agent is. And the contract is how we get paid, but all the other stuff occupies 98% of our time and is really the stuff that's really adding value to their life down the road. So it's my 45 years and 30 seconds.
You know, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is not from you, but from somebody else. I heard that you actually give a damn about your players. Like, you actually care about them and that they don't get burned or that they don't go out and waste their money, and that you actually set them up with the mental aptitude to be able to succeed and keep their money and not just blow through it as an athlete. And is that part of your mission?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I do care, but two, I see the difference between, there's a reason in our country the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Like, it's very obvious to me what's happening. And so when we have opportunities to help guys that are maybe first generation went to college, maybe first generation to have $20,000 in their bank account, let alone $3 million, they're almost set up to fail. And there's really no one there to help protect them. The people they trust the most, mom, dad, uncle, high school coach, AAU coach, whoever, may not have the expertise and the intelligence level because they've never dealt with it.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
For me, it's if they listen and they're disciplined on the front end to help build the foundation of the house, which is hard. I mean, it's not easy to do. Then they have the opportunity to create generational wealth for their family, and that's life changing. That's generation changing, and that's how you change neighborhoods. It's how you change communities.
Yeah.
So I am very passionate about that, because if I negotiate a $100 million contract and the player's got nothing to show for it 15 years from now, I can't sleep at night. And I'm like, well, what the hell did we actually just accomplish then? And if someone gave me $2 million when I was 19 years old, God knows what I would have done with it. And I felt like I was educated. I felt like I had responsible, intelligent people around me, and I had a good upbringing, and I had access to resources. So when you factor in all the other things and the external pressures, it's not easy. It's not easy. So the more we can, give them the answers to the test to some regard before they got to take the test.
Yes.
And that's communication and education and transparency, and it's a partnership, right? They got to communicate, and they got to be self-aware, and they got to be able to look in the mirror, and they got to be honest, and they got to work as hard as they can. And even with all those things, every single thing is aligned, it's still really difficult. You still got to stay healthy. You still got to get to the right scheme. You still got to overcome odds after odds after odds after odds. And so it's a lot of work, but that's the rewarding part. The rewarding part to me isn't when a guy scores a touchdown or runs a fast 40-yard dash or frankly even gets drafted in the National Football League draft. That's a chapter, and that's great, and that's momentous, and celebrate. But then that chapter closes, and what are you doing to go make the roster? Because it's hard to get to the NFL, but it's a million times harder to stay in the NFL. So, I got to keep everything in perspective. So,
why is it a million times harder to stay in the NFL?
Because there's a lot of reasons. One, all the rookies are extremely underpaid. So when you come in as a rookie, you're underpaid. And no one really retires from the NFL. No one retires because you can't replace the fame, and you can't replace the money, you can't replace the camaraderie. And in the NFL world, if you're 30 years old, you've had a nice run, but you still got another 65, 70 years to live your life.
Sure.
But you're considered old at 30 years old, and you have no experience working in the workforce anywhere else. So no one really retires. So when you put it in context, and even our guys that are getting drafted next month probably don't have the true context of this. You have, I don't know how many guys retired this year. Counted on one hand. Maybe Tom Brady retired and a couple other guys retired. Counted 3 players. Well, you got another 250 that are going to get drafted this year. You got another 500 players that are going to get signed as undrafted free agents, like Adam Thielen did and C.J. Ham and others. And so you have 750 guys that are coming into the National Football League, and 3 guys retired. Well, just based on that math, there's 747 players that are getting pushed out.
Understood.
You're getting pushed out because you're not good enough. You can't pick up the playbook. You can't stay healthy. You're too expensive. You're too old. you're too naive, whatever the situation is, you're getting pushed out. Then year 2, 747 guys are coming in to take someone's spot. And to play year 3, 747 guys are coming in to take 3 spots. So when you start to see guys put prolonged careers together, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, they've overcome the odds a million times. And that's why it's really, really difficult to stay. It's hard to get there. You're still overcoming the odds. But when a guy gets drafted in the 6th round or 7th round or 5th round or signs as a priority free agent, the team really isn't invested in them at that point.
Okay.
If they give them a $250,000 signing bonus or a $500,000 signing bonus, that's a rounding error in the National Football League. That is, they're not making a decision about your future because of money at that point.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Tell me about your very first client. Like, how did you land your first client? I mean, you don't have a name in the industry. Like, how did you get that trust to be like?
Well, I think like when I got to I was working at a firm in LA from probably 2003, 2004 up to the time I left to start IFA. And I got certified there. I'm certified by the Players Association, so I'm governed by the Players Union.
Okay.
But prior to getting certified, and even once I got certified, I had credibility, resources at my shop.
Got it.
So we had
Understood.
first rounders every year. We had Hall of Famers. We had, that's where I really learned a lot about the business. So even when I started IFA, even though we were starting the business with no clients, I did have some experience in the space. And I put a pretty good team around me initially that had a wide array of experience.
Okay.
But even with that being said, I didn't know if at 28 years old if I was going to be able to convince a 21 or 22-year-old and their families that they should be the guinea pig and trust their livelihoods and careers to me. I knew what I was talking about, but I'm competing with the sharks and the conglomerates and people that are paying guys and discounting fees, and I'm just like, you can trust me. This is what I do, and I'm really good at it. And I could also devote a lot of time and attention to everybody because I didn't have any clients.
Yeah.
So our first draft class, we had a 4th round pick and a 7th round pick that, were really, really good dudes. The 7th round pick played 11 years. I'm still extremely close with them to today. Our second year, we had a 1st round pick and a 2nd round pick. And the 1st round pick was like the most sought after guy in the country, but he played at Iowa. And I could get in the car and drive to Iowa every week. So I got to know he and his family better than anyone. And he's still one of my closest friends today. But that's how I originally got started. I was able to sign players and work with players based on the relationship and the education and the empowerment. But I had all the time in the world because I didn't have an existing business at the time.
Yeah.
It's harder for me to spend. I can't drive to Iowa every week now. I don't have the bandwidth.
When you drove to Iowa, was it like the viewer out there who's that young hustler that wants to get into this space and become a sports agent? Where are you driving to? Like, is it to a coffee shop? Is it to a football field? Or
yeah, it would differ.
Like, really break it down.
Like we'd meet at his apartment, or we'd go to a game, or we'd meet at a coffee shop. But every time we went, there was some educational component to the trip. You know what I mean? We may have been talking about marketing. We may have been talking about what his life will look like in the pre-draft process. We might have been talking about disability insurance. We may have been talking about what the top defensive end contracts in the National Football League look like. There was some educational component. I wasn't just going to hang out.
Yeah.
There was some like, yes, you got to get to know me better, know my team better, but there's a purpose by why I'm here.
Okay.
So that was a lot of it. But I also was doing what I thought was best. I wasn't, there was no manual for me to read. There wasn't, this is the right way to run your business or the wrong way to do your business. There wasn't the right things to say or the not right things to say. It was just like, this is me, unfiltered. I'm going to talk to you the same way I talk to my wife, the same way I talk to a general manager. You like it, great. You don't like it, great. It's the truth. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So not here to tell you how great you are. Like, that's not it really doesn't matter what I think. I can't draft you. I'm not a general manager. There's 32 teams that can draft you. So it's important that I give you the information and what they think. Unless you don't care about where you're drafted, there's only 32 people in the whole world that can draft you. So what mom thinks and what I think and your sister thinks and your head coach thinks is great. We can take all that feedback, but none of us have the ability to actually draft you anyway. So just educating about the landscape, financial literacy, philanthropy. What do you want to do in the community? What's important to you? What do you want your life to look like in 10 years? What's the perfect world scenario? That also allows him to get to know me better and me to get to know them better, because I'm a big proponent. I'm like, if we're not aligned, like, philosophically to some extent, then, like, it's hard to go talk about a 40-yard dash and a bench press and vertical jump and scheme and position coaches. That stuff all kind of becomes a moot point. So it's really important for me to make sure my clients and their families were aligned. We don't have to agree on everything, but from a principle standpoint, we got to have some level of the same fundamentals about transparency and being high character and working hard as you can. And otherwise, I think everything else becomes a moot point.
Well, I know firsthand one of your guys, Adam Thielen's got his own foundation where he does a lot of work with the youth, and even one of my sons attended one of his camps, and he's done a lot of great things here in the state of Minnesota. Even though he's now out on the East Coast, he's still doing a lot of great things here in Minnesota, and so I can see that firsthand of what you're talking about in regards to being aligned with not just them lining their pockets, but them also giving back to the communities that they're part of. So
for sure, and I think guys have to, like anything else, they gotta want it, right? You can't tell them to do it. Like, they gotta want to be inquisitive and ask the questions and show up. Like, the Thielen Foundation works because Adam and Kate show up and they do the work and they're passionate about it. They're not just slapping their names on a foundation and saying, tell me where to go and I'll show up again in a year. It would never get the legs that it has without their commitment. But they're really good people and they genuinely care. Yeah. You don't always find that with anybody, but you don't always find that in the professional athlete space or the entertainment space. You get people that, like to throw their name on stuff for pride and ego, but don't actually get their hands dirty and do the work. There's a big difference.
Another individual, just to back up what you're saying, is C.J. Ham. I think he just won the Man of the Year. Is that correct?
Yeah, so he was the Vikings representative for Walter Payton Man of the Year, and Adam was actually the Walter Payton Man of the Year recipient for the Panthers. Wow. So it was awesome being down at Super Bowl and getting to celebrate with both of them. They were both, rookie mini camp tryout guys that are going on year 13 and year 10, and were never supposed to be on the roster, let alone make it as long as they did, let alone, I think the Walter Payton Man of the Year nomination is the greatest award that you can win in professional sports, because there's only 32 of them in the league. It's voted on by your peers. It's a direct correlation of how you're showing up and what you're doing in your community. You can do more with that award than anything else you could do on the football field. So that's the stuff I get passionate about. Like, that's because it's been years and years and years and years and years and years of work.
Can we talk about college football?
Sure. Talk about whatever you want.
So with college football, in the last year, or maybe it was 2 years, those athletes can now get paid. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, the reason it came to fruition is because the NCAA continued to get sued.
Okay.
Not because they were doing the right thing by these young men and women. They weren't admitting any fault. They just continued to get sued. And finally, a court in California said, hey, this is ridiculous. And the student athletes should be able to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. And that's when the floodgates opened. So there's been a million different lawsuits. There's been a million different changes to the rules. And the NCAA has their own guidelines, and different states have their own guidelines. But ultimately, what is going to happen here, like literally any day, the NCAA is going to sign off on a judge is going to sign off on a big class action lawsuit against the NCAA. And it's a $3 billion settlement.
Holy smokes.
So players there's different criteria, but some of that money is going to go to players that participated playing whatever sport they played in college from 2014 to 2018, 2019, 2020, whatever the years are. And along with that settlement is going to now allow collegiate programs to take $20 to $22 million a year to pay their players directly, which is a direct number based on the rev share component that they get from the television and media rights deals.
Okay. So sort of the bigger schools like maybe LSU or Alabama, some of these SEC schools
So the
will probably get a bigger pocket of that, or
the Power 4 schools are going to have – each school is going to separate the money how they want to separate it. But call it – most of the Big Ten schools and most of the SEC schools are going to operate under a similar budget. So I think in the SEC they're going to have $14 million a year to spend on their football program. That money is coming directly as a rev share component, as if that money was coming in from the Big Ten Network or ESPN or March Madness or wherever it's coming from. The schools now have to figure out, if we were already operating at a little bit of a win or a little bit of a loss or a break even, now they have to go find $20 million of extra cash to pay the players, or they got to reduce $20 million worth of costs. In addition to that, every school can have a collective, which is just a fancy word for boosters that are putting a business together. They can also pay players through other marketing initiatives. So if you're the local car dealership and you want star quarterback to come and film a commercial for $50,000, you can do that, and that's independent of the allocation of dollars that comes from the rev share.
Okay.
So the more well-supported programs, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Tennessees, the Texases, theoretically, they will have more money to spend just because they have greater support from outside the program.
Sure.
But the rev share dollars will be predominantly in the same ballpark.
Okay. Now, in regards to these college athletes, will this also go down into high school kids?
Yeah, it already is. And some states allow high school kids to take advantage of name, image, and likeness, and some don't. Like in Minnesota, you can. In Texas, you can't. In Michigan, you can't.
So there's a kid in high school in the state of Minnesota right now who could take advantage of NIL, right? That's
correct.
The acronym? Yeah.
Correct. We had a high school kid. Well, we have. He's 16 years old. He's a quarterback in Shreveport, Louisiana. It's legal in Louisiana. So he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year already from traditional marketing partnerships.
Holy cow.
And for the high school kids, it's a little few and far between. Like, it's kind of reserved for the top of the top. And
sure. The LeBron James of back in his day.
Yeah, typically the premier positions. But those same kids that are juniors in high school, seniors in high school, will now have to make decisions on where they're going to go to college. And their college decision is going to be predicated on a lot of different things, including compensation.
Sure.
So it's a completely different environment. They're all professionals, even though they're not playing in the professional ranks. And so the guidance and the support, all the mechanisms that we just talked about with an NFL rookie really just goes downstream to those players and families, because they have real tax liabilities and real financial literacy education. They're making real money. Like, it's not – they have an unbelievable head start on life if they manage it properly.
If these students, whether they're in college or in high school, wanted to get in touch with you to be represented, how would they do that?
You know what? Most of our clients at this point are referrals from other people or clients, whether it's trainers, whether it's coaches, whether it's existing clientele. But if you were someone that had no relationship, I would say hit us up, call the office, hit us on a direct message. Our Instagram handles, Team IFA. Now, we're in such a niche business that, like, we're not trying to represent every single player. But if you have the ability to play Power 4 football or have the ability to go to the National Football League, and you're high character and you work hard and you do the right things, you're certainly someone that we want to have a conversation with.
Okay. Yeah, tell me more about that niche player.
I think the niche for us is, like, the stuff that we can't see on film.
Okay.
You know, like your work ethic, your maturity. Like, we go through an IFA kind of evaluation process, which is like, you know, your marketability, your NFL potential, your character, your commitment level, your integrity. You know, are you a leader? Are you a good communicator? All these different things that I can't really see on film, because I personally believe one, that's going to be the differentiator between guys that make it and guys that don't. And two, I don't want to waste any time.
Sure.
So selfishly, I only want to work with the good dudes because I value my time, which means I value other people's time. And to what we were talking about earlier, I already know how hard it is to make it. Yeah. So, like, if you're not going to listen, you're going to fight everything we say at 19 years old, why are you going to start listening when you make $3 million a year? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to bang my head against the brick wall.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Life's too short for that.
Tell me more about your other company, Brick and Mortar.
Yeah, so Brick and Mortar is like a members-only workspace social club that is 2 floors above us on the 4th floor. And it was really just a pet project that I thought about 5-6 years ago. I was just like, again, this is primarily out of selfish reasons, but I wanted to create a space that I enjoyed hanging out in, that I could hang out with the people I wanted to hang out with and listen to what I wanted to listen to and drink and watch what I wanted to drink and watch. And I couldn't find any places I actually wanted to go. And I'm like, we're in the 12th largest city in the country, and I'm right in the heart of downtown, and there's not one place that I actually want to go to.
Yes.
So I want to be able to bring a client or my wife or a friend. And I was like, there's got to be other people that are like-minded that have, if I just built a space and had a good vibe in there with the right community, maybe I'm an idiot, but I'm like, I got to believe people will at least come. So I originally was looking at space to do brick and mortar. That's when I found this building. And then I ended up moving my office over here too. At the time I was living in the North Loop, so everything was easy and efficient. And we built a good community. I didn't know if it was I didn't really do it to make money. You know, I really my goal was to like break even. I didn't want to lose money. But I really wasn't doing it to make money.
Yeah.
And then we got open, and then I was like, oh, shit, this is like actually a real business now. And people are trying to rent it out and a whole bunch of stuff that I really hadn't even considered. I was just trying to build a room.
I mean, it's a cool space.
Thank you.
Like my wife and I have been here a couple of different times. And we're up on the rooftop, and I just remember looking out, and her and I looked at it. We're big fans of Manhattan, New York, and we're looking out. We're like, I mean, it feels like we're in New York.
Yeah.
Like, this is incredible. There is nothing like this in Minneapolis.
Well, I appreciate that because that was kind of the goal. And I agree with you. I'm biased, but I actually enjoy being up there, and I enjoy sitting on the rooftop. And I used to enjoy it a lot more, pre-kids. But when I was telling, like, friends and other people about the concept, people were just like, what are you talking about? You're just going to build a fucking room? You're not going to sell anything? I'm like, yeah, it's actually exactly what I'm doing. So I didn't do a good job of explaining it, but I was just like, let me just get it built and open, and then I'll just walk you through. And I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Like, well, that's what I was trying to explain. I just did a shitty job of explaining it.
Well, I mean, it's got, like, you go up there and it's got, you're surrounded by brick, which is just cool in itself. There's a bar, I mean, full drinks. There's a lounge area, huge TV. Like, I mean, you've done an incredible job.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we tried. I mean, when I walked through this building the first time, it was completely vacant. But when I walked into the building the first time, I was like, this is perfect. Old building, the old rustic hard floors, the exposed brick. And a key was I really wanted to have an outdoor element, whether it was a patio, whether it was a roof deck. And that really limited the opportunities because in Minneapolis, you really couldn't do anything. So this building just happened to have the ability to build a roof deck. There was like 4 feet of distance between the roof deck, the floor of the roof, and the ceiling of the 4th floor that allowed us to drop the roof like 4 feet in order to build that.
Okay.
But had it not been for that, I don't know, I might have moved on, but it was just hard. That's why there's no roof decks anywhere in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
There's a lot of city code. There's a lot of HPC, the Historical Preservation Commission or Society, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules and regs.
Well, it's special. You did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For the young hustler out there that has a desire to either become a sports agent or to actually own their own agency one day, like what are words of, like, let's say you could go back in time to when you first got in this business and you wanted to become a sports agent, like what would you tell them? Like, do they have to get a college education, no college education? What are some things that you're like, you know what, like this is what you need to be focusing on if you want to get in this space. And let's call it even, 3 years from now, right? Like maybe they're fresh into college now, and this is their dream.
Yeah, I mean, this business specifically is really difficult because there's just such a difficult barrier to entry. And you can't like go to school and learn it. So my advice would be, and this is probably true with being successful in any space, is like you got to go out work people. There's no replication for the hard work. Like I was always the first one in, last one out. I was calling any single person I could to get an internship or work for free while I was trying to work another job. Like there's no replacement for that. And then in addition to that, like you got to figure out a way to differentiate yourself.
Okay.
Like you can't just be a fan of sports.
Okay.
That limits you to 250 million people. Everyone fucking likes sports. Like learn the business, be a sponge, do more listening than talking. And like in this business specifically, there's only, on the football side, there's only 30 or 40 agencies that have experience and credibility. So it's not as if there's thousands of options out there.
Yeah.
But there are thousands and thousands of jobs in sports. Sports covers a lot. You have the kinesiology side, to the accounting side, to the finance side, to the marketing side, to the league side, to the union side, to the college side, like, to the NIL side. There's a million different things you can do in sports. But I think you got to really, if you're going to really want to do this as a profession, you got to catch on and do what you got to do to like differentiate yourself, be a sponge, work as hard as you can. And I think when you're younger too, like people are so afraid of it not working or like figuring out the answer of what's next. When you're young, you don't have the responsibility of other people on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like I obviously cared if it didn't work, but I was never afraid. Like if I'm not an agent, what am I going to do? Like I wasn't put on this. I wasn't like I have to be an agent or my life's over. It was like I think I can make a difference and be really good at this. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm going to find something else to do. And I think the more chances you can take when you're young, take them, because it's harder to do that when you're 40.
I agree.
And you got a wife and kids and family. Yeah. Like now the decisions you're making directly impact others.
Yeah.
When you're young, live on a couch, share a room, get a second job. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
That's your time to go hustle and take shots.
Yes, it is. So for that young hustler, so there is or there isn't a direct path to this business. Like, how would somebody become your employee and be able to come work for you?
I mean, the majority of the people we've hired over the years have been through our internship program. Honestly, like you come in, we've had people that have had law degrees and have been in the workspace for 3 years that are willing to come in and intern for free to get the experience. Yeah. And like, I don't know if there's another way around it, because either you've already been in the space and you have experience, credibility, and or revenues you're bringing with you, or you come in and not only learn our business.
You earn your spot.
Yeah. Because it's a niche business. You can't learn it without having been in it. And then even within the space, you got to learn how we do things and what's important to us. And it's really hard for us to just go hire someone from the outside. I don't care if you're graduated with a Harvard law degree or what, because it's so niche, it's so competitive, it's such a difficult barrier to entry. I'm very particular of who comes into our family from a colleague standpoint, a client standpoint, my personal friendship group standpoint. So I'm a harsh critic when we're opening our doors.
You protect your culture.
Yeah. I think it's incredibly important.
I agree.
To me. And again, just back to like the value of time, like I want to enjoy the people I'm around. Like you could be the smartest guy in the world, but if I can't stand you every day, like we can't work together. Like it's not, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah. I know Gary Vee, he talks about, and I wouldn't say in all humility for himself, but Gary Vee's Gary Vee. And he said to the person that he was interviewing, you should be paying me to work for me. And
he's not totally wrong.
He's not totally wrong, because of the knowledge and the wisdom that you would gain from that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think internships are valuable, because it does allow individuals to get into a very niche space that's highly competitive. And they might be thinking, well, I'm not going to get paid anything. Well, you actually should be paying Blake.
Yeah. I mean, it's not you're not totally wrong. I actually agree with that sentiment. I think people just got to get out of their shell too and like take some chances. Like you don't have to worry about what's on your Instagram feed all day long. Like just dial for dollars, call people, set up meetings, berate people. Don't, there's a fine line between hustle and being obnoxious. Like run
Sure.
that fine gamut,
Yep.
but like you're kind of trying to find a needle in a haystack anyway. So, and again, I would say like always tell the truth, be confident without being arrogant, do more listening than talking, like be self-aware. Like the amount of young people that always try to get in here that have just zero awareness is like you're out before you even start.
Sure.
And I don't know how to teach that. I think you either have that or your upbringing, your environment, or your mentors. But like, it's shocking some of the shit I see. But
In regards to mentorship, do you have a mentor, or have you had mentors in the past?
I honestly, I don't have one or two or three that like I go to routinely, but I depending on like my relationship with people and what I feel like I need help with or what I'm trying to get better at will kind of influence who I ask what to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's certain people that I know are like some of the smartest business minds I've been around. And there's other people that I think have an unbelievable emotional intelligence. And there's other people that I think have more of a calming presence. And so, I've been fortunate to meet a lot of people and develop a lot of relationships and have friends of friends, like how I met you, that have other relationships. And so I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character and can determine pretty quickly, is this someone that I can trust? Is it someone that I like? Is it someone that I can gain some wisdom from? And if they're not the ones, they probably have someone that is there. So in some capacity, I also feel like we all learn a lot from each other. Like I kind of treat everybody the same. I give everyone kind of the opportunity. And the more experience you have, the more cultured you are, the more places you've been, the more people you meet, your lens for being able to identify the right people becomes a little clearer.
Yeah. I would say for having a high EQ, right? It comes from a lot of street smarts, and I think your IQ is just as high, but you seem to have a very high EQ as well. And
I don't think I have a high IQ. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't taken an IQ.
Well, I didn't want to
test in a
insult you, and I don't know if you got massive degrees in your back wall or not.
No, I'm unoffendable, first of all, so I would not
But
be
your
offended,
EQ is there,
I like to think I have a decent EQ.
and I think
I've seen a lot of shit.
I think a lot of successful business owners, they have that high EQ, especially if they started from scratch.
I think you have to, and especially in our business, it's a relationship-driven business. Like I think I'm really good at my job, but I'm not sending people to Mars. Like this isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
It's like I think I'm an expert. I'd put myself up against anyone in the business from negotiating contracts. But like anything else, like you're as good as the leverage that you have or lack thereof.
Yeah.
But the emotional intelligence side is paramount in our business because we have clients from all different walks of life. We have the Adam Thielens that are from Detroit Lakes and played at Minnesota State. We have kids from 8 Mile in Detroit. We have kids from Compton in California. We have kids that were foster care kids that came out of foster homes and have no parental figure in their life. We have to be relatable and be able to communicate with a really wide array of individuals.
Yes.
Like we're not just selling in a banking product or a SaaS product to a company. Like we're actually building meaningful relationships so that they and their families inherently trust every single thing that we do and say. And like that requires a ton of time.
Do you have a story of an athlete that, you mentioned Compton, you mentioned 8 Mile. I mean, Adam Thielen's story, at least here in Minnesota, is, famous for what he did. Do you have a story that like still sits with you today? If you're like, man, like I knew this kid and what he came from, and what he's doing today is remarkable.
I mean, I think there's a lot of them, honestly. Like without really naming specific names, like one of our clients had just signed here with the Vikings. Like, he was pulled out of his dad's home when he was 3 years old and got put in foster care with his brother, who was 5 years old, and lived in foster care for 2 years. Really never knew his mom. Like, his dad was in the military, had to come back to figure that out. And, like, if you met him, he ended up being a 5-star prospect, went to Alabama, mature beyond his years, was also a 2-time Walter Payton Man of the Year recipient, 6-time captain, just, like, completely gets it.
Wow.
You would never know that he went through traumatic experiences. Yeah. Like, it's just, he's significantly more mature than me. And he had dealt with so many different things off the field, but that's not that uncommon. Like, Will Golston, who just finished his 12th year in Tampa, grew up in Detroit. Parents were in and out of his life, like, was sleeping on people's couches. And if you would have asked, when I met him his junior year of college, if you would have made me bet that he would play 12 years in the National Football League and be wildly successful on and off the field and be a Walter Payton Man of the Year recipient in Tampa, like, I don't know if I would have taken that bet. Like, the amount of maturity and growth and attention that it took from, like, the first time I met him to where he went is like, it's incredible. But it takes a village too. Like, it's not me, it's them being willing to listen and hitting some rough patches. And that's why also you need people around you that are going to tell you the truth. And not like, when there were issues, it's like, yo, we got to deal with this now. Like, whatever we need to do, we got to deal with it. I know when something's wrong. Like, I'm not going to tell you everything's great and, keep doing what you're doing. Like, in the professional sports world and I think entertainment, and to some degree, there's a lot of enablers. Mm-hmm. So you got to weed out the enablers. And that's hard because a lot of times the enablers are mom or dad or uncle or sister or friend, who are the people that have been there forever. And a lot of times the player thinks, well, shit, they did everything for me. Like, I owe it to them.
It's interesting you say that. I was speaking to another individual in the entertainment space, and his agent, not a part of your organization, enabled him in his behavior, in his drug behavior, because he continued to get gigs. He's not an athlete. He's in the entertainment space as a celebrity, and the agent continued to get paid if he was coked up.
Yeah, because
he'd be able to go on stage or on set and do what needed to be done, and the fear is you put him in rehab and he sobers up, would he be able to perform?
Yeah.
And it's awesome to hear that,
I see a lot of enabling. I do. One of my first clients actually, and this wasn't necessarily enabling, it was just, he was a first-round pick. I didn't represent him out of college. I met him after his rookie year. He was drafted by the Detroit Lions. Great dude, but, like, moved his entire family to Detroit. So he had a $2 million home. His parents had another home. His parents were 40 or 41 or 42 years old at the time. They didn't work anymore. His younger siblings hadn't gone through college yet. And he's on, like, a late first-round pick contract. And I'm just starting to work with him. So getting into the weeds of what his off-the-field life looks like. And I look at him like, dude, I know what you make. None of this is sustainable. Like, I can tell you the exact day you're going to be dead broke. This is not my opinion. This is just math.
Yeah.
You can be mad at me, but, like, this is just fucking math. And I can tell you, if you want to live like this, I can tell you to the penny exactly how much money you need to make in order to live like this. Again, it's just math. And he was like, Blake, I can't tell my parents that I'm not going to give them $10,000 a month, or they can't live in this house, or they got to go get a job. I'm like, well, we have to work on what we're going to say and do, because I love your heart, and I appreciate the fact that you want to help everybody, but you're not going to help anybody unless you can help yourself. So we literally crafted letters, emails, to the point where it was like, and I was the new guy. I was just like the new agent that they hired. So I was like Satan coming in and being like,
Yeah.
The gravy train is over. But I really wasn't intending it for it to be like that. I'm like, guys, I wasn't here for the previous part. I wouldn't have condoned any of these decisions. But if you guys, I hope Kevin makes $50, $100 million playing football and he can support everybody. But, like, he's not there yet. And you're putting all of this stuff at risk because one injury and it's over. If he doesn't get to a second contract, it's over. And everyone's got to go back to work anyway. So if we taper it down to something that's amenable and agreeable, everyone can still be happy in the long run. And it worked out. They hated me for a while. Now they love me. And Kevin's really successful, and I still speak to him all the time. And he's got a design company in Blacksburg. I actually hired him to come up with the brick-and-mortar design for the logo.
Yeah.
But it's those – I don't make any more or less money whether our guys are dead broke or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me to intervene in the relationship and risk everyone hating me and getting fired or do the right thing, to me it's an easy decision. Like, you do the right thing, you say it, and I think that's why I've been able to build up a business because what I'm telling them is the truth.
Yep.
Whether they agree with it or not.
Or like it or not.
Or like it is a completely different animal, you know?
So, we've shared before, I'm in recovery. And, I've been sober now for 18 years as a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. And in the rooms of recovery, we have what's called a sponsor. And so I have a sponsor, and the sponsor's role is just to shoot me straight, to tell me when I've got a bad idea, to tell me when I'm full of pride or ego or being selfish or self-centered, and I don't like to hear it when he says it, but I appreciate it. In the moment, I might even be mad at him when he says it, but the next day or maybe even a week later, I appreciate it. And then I know that he actually has my best interests at heart. And I'm sure that's what your players feel with you in your organization.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's always important to be around people that are transparent with you. And if they're not transparent with you, it's even more important to have self-awareness and know what you are and what you're not, and what your strengths are. And I think it's also just harder in the professional sports entertainment dynamic based on the family relationship and where some people and families have come from, because they're now afraid if they piss off the golden goose and the person that's feeding them, there's no recovery. So it's even harder. Then there's even more enabling. There's even it's an epidemic, honestly. Like, it's not like this was going on 30 years ago. All these same issues that I'm talking about are literally still going on today. It's just not I think there's more access to information now, and there's better education, but it's still a problem. I see it all the time.
What's your goal for the company? 3 year, 5-year goal? Where you see
my goal for the company is, like, I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to scale. I want to continue to add good people. And ultimately, like, as we continue to grow, I want to keep the family office boutique style nature of the business. And I want to free my time up so I can dive deeper into the things that I'm really passionate about. It's hard to do that. I mean, you had your own business, so I'm probably preaching to the choir, but it's really hard to do everything 110%. If I'm working 110%, then I'm on the road. I'm missing something at home. If home's 110%, then something else is lacking. I kind of, if I'm on board with something, I'm giving it 110%. And if I'm on board, you're probably getting 0. If I'm off board, you're probably getting 0%. And no effort, no attention.
Yeah.
So my goal would be to continue to grow this to the point where I don't have to be as heavily involved or or like pick and choose my battles of where I can be involved.
Sure. So have a strong leadership, delegation.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. Are you willing to get into family?
Yeah, I'll get into anything you want.
Okay. Married?
Married 16 years. 2 kids, 9 and 7. My daughter's Bexley. She's 9. My son is Jackson. He's 7. My wife is Sarah. She's a jewelry designer. She owns Gold Fine Jewelry.
Gold Fine Jewelry.
Gold Fine Jewelry.
Okay.
She's the talented one of the family.
Is she on Instagram as well?
Yes.
What's her handle?
Guessing at Gold Fine Jewelry.
Okay.
Double check that one.
What type of jewelry?
I'm going to do a terrible synopsis of what this jewelry is. She does the high-end stuff, but I would say most of her price points are like the $100 range, $200, $300 range, and all like one of a kind, different pieces. So it's like different necklaces that you can wear 5 different ways. And I'm the wrong person to ask because I offend her when I describe it to other people. So she should look it up and then give her.
That's good.
Give me the interpretation of what it is.
All right. So when did you guys get married? 16 years ago.
We got married February of 2009.
Okay. And
was it February of 2009?
And how'd you meet?
We're both from here, so
Minnesota,
we knew each other sort of. We went to different schools, and then when I was at the University of Wisconsin, she was at Kansas. We both happened to be in Mexico, my junior year of college, her freshman year of college, and we started hanging out then. And our first 2 years of dating was all long distance, and then she moved out to California with me. And
that was L.A.?
That we were in L.A.
Okay.
And then after, we were out there for 5 or 6 years. And then when I started this, we decided to come back here and kind of keep the door open of if we liked it, great. If the business worked, great. We kept our place in L.A. and I rented it out for like a year or two. And then I was like, all right, we're 2 years in now, or do we keep having to be long-distance landlord, or can we make the commitment to get rid of the place in L.A.? And we actually loved it here. Yeah, we moved back here. We lived at the Ivy Hotel, renting an apartment for 2 years. Then we lived over here by the river in the North Loop. We had both of our kids in a townhome down here by the river, and it was great. Like, North Loop was just growing. It was awesome. We could walk to bars and restaurants and coffee shops and Northeast, and L.A. was great, but it was pre-kids.
Sure.
So
it's different.
I was never going to raise kids out there. I don't think she was either. And we were both working 1 million hours, traveling a lot. The timing worked out. We got married, started the business, moved back here. And we were kind of the mindset, both of us from a personality standpoint, like it's the adventure and we'll figure it out.
Are your kids old enough to know like what daddy does for a living and who daddy's hanging out with, and do you bring them to games or anything?
They're certainly of age now. They definitely have met a bunch of our clients. They come to games. We'll stay at clients' homes. But I never push it on them. If they want to, they care about it, they care about it. They don't care about it. And like my son, like just got into it within the last like 12 months. Like I was joking around with someone the other day. He's in a flag football league, and I go to his first practice, and this is like 2 years ago now. So he was probably 5. And the coach asked each player to name their favorite Viking. And my son was the only one that actually couldn't name a player. And I'm like, dude, Thielen's been at our house 1 million times. CJ's been at our house. Like, you couldn't name one guy? Like, you're the only one that actually knows the players. And I was joking around with him because, like, he didn't really care.
Yeah.
And then something clicked, like, 2 years ago where he just got really into it. Like, all he wants to do is play football now. He had Jonathan Allen sign his hat the other day. He wants to come to Cody Lindenberg's draft party at Brick and Mortar. It's great. It's fun because I don't really care what they're into as long as they're into it.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't ever want it to be a burden, but they're definitely they're of age now where I think they can enjoy the fun part of it.
But that is fun.
It
That
is
is
fun.
fun for him to enjoy, right, he's into football. So you're obviously into football. So for you guys to be able to come together, he could actually do what to you would be a normal work function thing, right? It's just work. But now it's like, now my son's here. Like, this is actually kind of fun.
It is fun. And my client that just signed with the Vikings, they have a 5-year-old daughter, and they really wanted to meet his daughter, and they're telling John and Hannah, come to the house. They want to babysit Eleanor in a couple months when they move here, and it's just fun seeing the family dynamic and interaction.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Yeah. Outside of football, any other sports that you personally like or love? Any teams that you follow?
I mean,
You're a Minnesota guy. Are you a hockey guy then?
You know what? I played 3 sports in high school, and I was on a tennis scholarship at the University of Wisconsin, but that was about 40 pounds ago, so I can't I can't move anymore, so that takes that out of the equation a little bit. Or I got to beat up on some country club folks that still think they're good. But I like playing golf.
What about pickleball then? I mean, tennis.
I play a little pickle.
Okay.
I play a little pickle, not a ton. I like kind of every sport. I'm just like too out of shape. I got to get back in shape so I can physically move to actually participate in the sport that I once enjoyed.
Sure.
Now I'm like, I like getting on the golf course. It's like my, I walk the course. It's like my mental break.
Back to your wife. You know, when you were building your empire, how did your wife kind of get through those long hours that you had to put in to build this thing? Like, did you guys have an agreement up front, like this is what I'm going to do, and you guys kind of knew right from the start, or was it like?
No, I think, she's awesome. First of all, she's great. She's independent. Like, she works really hard. And I think in some ways it helped that like our first 2 years dating was long distance. It's kind of like it's all I knew and it's all she knew as far as the relationship. And she was building her own business simultaneously to me growing my own business. So like, did it get tough sometimes when I'm on the road for 4 days at a time or a week at a time, or I'm at the office late? Like, yeah, but like, it was never a situation where I felt like she was like solely dependent on me, and which I think is really important as far as like life lessons. I think I tell a lot of people this, but I tell our clients this a lot too. Like, whoever you're going to spend the rest of your life with, like, try to ensure as much as possible that they have their own life and they have their own independence. Because if they're solely reliant on you for every single thing, like, eventually you're going to clash. Whether it's you want to go somewhere with your friends, or you're hanging out here, or you spent money here. Like, not that I'm trying to give marital lessons, but like,
I think it's important.
I just see it works better when everyone's got their own identity. You can be identified together as a couple, but if your wife wants to go on a girls trip with 6 of her friends, great. If she wants to go pursue something in her career, great. That's going to make both of you guys happier, because you're otherwise just going to resent each other at some point anyway. Yeah. So I've been very fortunate. I think I got the greatest woman in the world. She's awesome. She's very supportive, really smart, patient, possesses a lot of skills and qualities that I do not possess. Patience is one of them. It's a virtue that I do not possess. And I got lucky. Hopefully I don't fuck it up.
I ask these questions because when I mentor a lot of guys and they have a spouse or a girlfriend, to me it's very important that your spouse or your partner is your cheerleader, whatever sex, right? Maybe it's a woman and she's got a guy. They have to be your cheerleader and they have to support you, because if they don't, they're just going to end up resenting you, and it's going to be an unhappy home life. So I think it's extremely important what you just said. So it's great advice.
I agree. And she knows I'm doing it because I care about it. I'm doing it to make everyone's life better and easier. Yeah. It's not like I want to be traveling down to Baton Rouge instead of hanging out with the family. I would give anything to hang out with the family. It's just I got to work. Yep. It's part of the gig. Yeah.
And especially for your clientele, right? For you now to have that firsthand experience and to be able to pass that on to them, because they travel a lot.
Yeah. A ton. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to cover?
I'm good, man. Anything else you want to hear about?
Dude, you've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Congrats on all of your success.
I appreciate
and being
that.
sober 18 years. It's impressive.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
It's great.
All right. Well, that's all we got. This is Tony Wells with the Hope and Hustle Experience. Again, I want to thank Blake for allowing me to be here at his location and for him coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, dude. Appreciate it. Awesome.